The sky above Varric 7 turned red dot at first. People thought it was just another sunset. But then the air started shaking. The clouds twisted into strange shapes, and then the ground trembled. Children stopped playing. Workers looked up from their screens. The birds flew away in silence. That was the moment they knew this wasn't nature. Something was coming from space. A shadow moved fast. Huge alien ships, dark and sharp like knives, entered the atmosphere. Their engines screamed. The skies lit up with fire. The Threx Dominion had arrived. They were not here to talk. They were not here to take prisoners. They were here to burn inside. The capital city of Varric 7, alarms started ringing. Red lights flashed in every building. Governor Helos ran into the command center, shouting orders. "Where's our defense fleet?" he yelled. An officer replied, shaking, "Gone, sir. Destroyed." Before they reached orbit, on the giant screen, people saw it clearly. Threx warships were above the planet, releasing hundreds of firebombs. Cities on the far side of the planet were already gone. Flames spread fast. Helos whispered, "No one told us they were this powerful." In the small village of Relan, a little girl named Kina held her mother's hand. They stood outside their home and watched fire fall from the sky. Kina asked, "What is that, Mama?" Her mother didn't answer. She was frozen in fear. Above them, a bright light grew bigger. The ground shook harder. Kina closed her eyes. The bomb hit. A wave of heat and noise destroyed everything. The Threx Dominion had done this before. Hundreds of times, they believed in control through fear. When one world resisted, they made it disappear. Varric 7 was just another example. They didn't know. This time, someone was watching, millions of kilometers away. On a small moon base near Jupiter, a human satellite captured everything. The destruction, the ships, the fire. Inside a quiet control room, an old man named Dr. Keller stared at the screen. His hands shook. He whispered, "It's them again." He turned to his assistant. "Send this to Earth Command. Level 7, emergency." The assistant blinked. Level 7. That's extinction. Level. Dr. Keller said nothing. He just stared at the burning planet. At Earth Command, the highest military leaders met within minutes. They watched the video from Varric 7 in silence. The Threx ships were too big, too fast, too deadly. Earth's normal fleets couldn't stop them. Admiral Knox stood up. "We don't have time. We need to act now." President Alma looked at him. "You mean Project Leviathan?" Knox nodded slowly. "It's the only thing left that might stop them." Everyone in the room fell silent. Project Leviathan had been hidden for decades. Even most commanders didn't know the full details. It was created long ago, built for a war that never came. Some believed it was a myth, but now Earth needed it. Far below the ocean, deep under Antarctica, a vault opened for the first time in 200 years. Dark water rushed through old tunnels. Lights flickered on inside a massive chamber, and there it was, Leviathan. Warship the size of a city, sleeping in silence. Its black metal skin was covered in ancient symbols. Its power core hummed like a heartbeat suddenly. Its eyes too long, glowing lines lit up. A deep voice echoed through the chamber. "Threat level detected. Rebooting primary systems. Prepare for war." Back on Varric 7, only ashes remained. The last signal from the planet was picked up by Earth Command. Before the communication lines died, it was a voice cracking and full of static. "This is Kepler Base. We are under attack. The Threx unstoppable. If anyone hears this, wake the Leviathan." Then, silence. Nothing more came from Varric 7. No survivors, no second chances. In space, the Threx Armada turned toward their next target. A new world. Another easy conquest. They didn't know Earth was watching. They didn't know what Leviathan was. They had ruled the stars for a long time, but now, the monster from Earth was waking, and it was hungry. The stars looked peaceful above Kepler Base, but inside, alarms were screaming. Commander Isla ran through the metal hallway, boots pounding against the floor. Lights flashed red. Doors slammed shut behind her as she entered the control room. "Stouta," she shouted. An officer turned from his screen. "They're here. 4 Threx ships just came out of warp. They're moving fast, heading straight for..." Usa's face went cold. "How long until they reach orbit?" 2 minutes, maybe less," he said. All around her, officers were rushing to their stations. Kepler Base was Earth's most advanced outer space colony. It had strong defenses, powerful cannons, and a trained fleet nearby. But none of it mattered now. Everyone had seen the video from Virex-7. Everyone knew what was coming. The command center shook. Impact on outer shields, someone yelled another. Officer shouted, 3 more ships just arrived, bigger ones. Commander Isla stared at the main screen. The alien ships looked like black daggers, sharp and smooth. Their weapons glowed with deadly blue light. One of Isla's officers whispered, "Why are they doing this? We didn't attack them." Isla replied, "They don't need a reason. The Threx conquer. That's what they do." Outside the station, Earth's defensive ships tried to stop the enemy. Bright lasers shot through space. Missiles flew, but it wasn't enough. The Threx moved like shadows dodging attacks, breaking ships apart. In less than 30 seconds, the human fleet was gone. Inside Kepler Base, the shaking got worse. Isla looked at her team. "We need to send a message. Right now, use the deep relay. Aim it at Earth Command." The signal officer nodded. "Yes, Commander." He began recording, and Isla stepped in front of the screen. She took a deep breath and started. Speaking, "This is Commander Isla of Kepler Base. Threx ships are attacking. Our fleet has fallen. We won't last long. I'm sending this message to Earth Command and to anyone who can hear." The station shook again. Sparks flew from the ceiling. Isla continued. "We saw what happened to Virex-7. We know what they are, and we know we can't stop them with normal weapons. That's why I'm saying this wake-up Project Leviathan." A loud explosion rocked the room. Officers screamed in the background. Illa's voice was calm, but her eyes were filled with fire. "If Leviathan is real, if you still have control of it, now is the time. If you don't use it, Earth will fall. All of us will. Tell them, tell humanity, we fought until the end. Illa, out." The screen went black dot. The signal shot across space. It passed destroyed satellites. It crossed asteroid fields. It flew through dark space where no light existed. And then Earth received it. Inside Earth Command, Admiral Knox listened to the message in silence. Everyone in the room was frozen. The room lights were low. The screen was dark. The only sound was Isla's final words, echoing, "Wake up, Project Leviathan." President Alma stood. "Do we still have time?" Knox answered, "Maybe, but we must move now." She looked him in the eye. "Do it, Miles." Below Earth's surface, deep in a secure control center, a single button glowed red. A hand hovered over it. The operator asked, "Are you sure, sir?" Admiral Knox nodded. The operator pressed the button. The ocean shook. Antarctica split open. Like a cracked egg, icebergs broke apart. The sea bubbled and glowed. Then something huge rose from the deep. Water fell from its sides in massive waves. Its eyes opened to glowing red lines. Leviathan had awakened. Its voice echoed across all Earth systems. Threat detected. Command accepted. Power at 94%. Target coordinates received. Above the clouds, satellite cameras caught the moment. Leviathan launched. It rose from the sea with no fire. No smoke, just pure force. It broke through the atmosphere like it was nothing. In space. The Threx ships near Kepler Base moved into position to destroy the colony once and for all. But suddenly, every one of their systems glitched, their screens flickered, their radar jammed. Something massive was coming. One Threx captain shouted, "Impossible. That signal is human, but it's too large." They turned to the stars. A black shadow moved toward them faster than anything they had ever seen. The Leviathan arrived. The ocean had gone quiet. Fishermen near Antarctica dropped their nets and stared. Icebergs were melting faster. The sea was bubbling as. If something massive was moving below, then, without warning, a huge column of water shot into the sky. It was not a natural wave. It was a warning. A shape rose from the deep. It wasn't a submarine. It wasn't a base. It was something else, something ancient, something made for war. The Leviathan had returned. On the shore, satellite drones captured the moment. The warship was unlike anything ever seen. It looked like a mountain made of black steel. Its surface shimmered like liquid, yet nothing could damage it. Giant red lights glowed across its body, like veins filled with fire. The ship didn't float, it hovered. Water didn't carry it. It pushed gravity away. Above it, thunder rolled in a clear sky. And then, silence. A voice echoed across all military networks, "System reboot complete. Human command accepted. Destination, Kepler base." With no fire, no sound, Leviathan shot into the sky. It broke the clouds like paper. It left Earth behind in seconds. Inside Leviathan, Admiral Rain opened her eyes. She was not supposed to be here. She was chosen long ago, but never called. Until now, she stood in the command chamber. Alone, there were no windows, only walls that glowed and moved like they were alive. A voice spoke again. "Welcome, Admiral. Target threat detected. Do you confirm? Strike order." Rain placed her hand on the control pillar. "I confirm," she said. The ship responded. "Weapons online. All systems at 100%. Warp in 3, 2, 1. In space, near Kepler base, the Threx were ready to finish their attack. Commander Isla's final message had been sent. The last of the humans were in hiding, preparing for death. One Threx warlord sneered. These soft creatures thought they could build an empire. They cannot even protect their own. Suddenly, all screens inside the Threx ships went black. Then, just one symbol appeared. A red circle with a silver claw through it. It was Leviathan's mark and then light. Blinding light. Leviathan dropped out of warp space like a meteor. The shockwave crushed one Threx ship instantly. The others tried to move, but it was too late. Leviathan fired no bullets. Instead, it released a sound low, deep, and full of force. The sound tore through shields. Then came the real weapon, a beam of pure gravity. It bent metal. It crushed a warship into a ball of molten fire. Another weapon followed something like lightning, but it moved with thought. It struck 3 ships at once, turning them into dust. Within 40 seconds, 5 Threx warships were gone. The others tried to escape. They see OULDN, single quotes. Inside one fleeing Threx ship, a captain screamed, "What is this thing? Why is it following us?" But no one had answers. Leviathan didn't chase. It moved ahead of them, as if it already knew where they would run from Earth. All human screens now showed the same image. Leviathan, floating in the black of space, surrounded by fire and silence. A voice broadcast across all channels. "This is Earth's final weapon. A relic of old wars. A beast built for extinction-level threats. It has no fear, no mercy. It answers only one command: defend humanity." People across Earth watched with wide eyes, in colonies, space stations, and underground shelters. Humans held their breath for the first time in years. They felt something powerful. Hope. Back at Kepler base, the survivors peeked out from shelters. They saw no Threx ships, only glowing debris, and one massive warship in the distance. Ela whispered, "It's real. Leviathan is real." Her radio crackled. "Commander Ela, this is Admiral Rain, aboard Leviathan. You are safe now." Ela smiled through her tears. Inside the Threx high command chamber, panic had begun. The generals shouted. Their empire had not faced defeat in 500 years, and now one ship, a human ship, was destroying everything they sent. A Threx advisor stepped forward. He spoke slowly. "This is not a normal weapon. This is something old, something we did. Now prepare for..." The Emperor stood, claws gripping the rail. "Then we will prepare. Send the armada, all of it, far away in the darkness of space." Leviathan waited. It did not sleep. It did not need repairs. It only needed one thing: a target. And now it had a galaxy full of them. The Threx didn't believe what they saw. One ship, just one, from Earth, had destroyed an entire strike fleet that had never happened before. But instead of retreating, they sent more. Scouting ships, fast and deadly, built to scan, track, and erase problems quietly. They called it a cleanup mission. They thought Leviathan would run out of power. They thought it was a one-time trick. They were wrong in deep space. Just beyond Saturn's rings, 3 Threx scout ships moved in silence. Each one was black and shaped like a dagger. They left no signal, no light. They were ghosts in the void. Inside the lead ship, Captain Rachel clicked his claws together. "Target ahead. Leviathan has stopped. It's alone. His second-in-command asked, "Are you sure it's even functioning?" Rachel growled, "Doesn't matter. Our orders are clear. Track it, find its weaknesses, then destroy it." They moved closer, closer, and then Leviathan moved. At first it was small, just a shift in energy. A red light blinked once, then the second, then hundreds. The entire ship lit up, slowly like an eye waking from sleep. Captain Rachel froze. Reverse course. Now, too late, a deep hum filled the void of space. Leviathan's gravity weapon activated again, but this time didn't fire straight. It twisted space around the scout ships like folding paper in slow motion. The Threx ships began to bend. The metal screamed. One ship imploded, Sewell, crushed, like a tin can. The others tried to jump to warp, but Leviathan was already inside their systems, back on Earth. Military command watched everything. Admiral Knox leaned forward. This isn't just power, Leviathan is thinking. President Ulma asked, "Are we still in control?" The operator answered quietly, "We gave it the target, but now it chooses how." No one spoke. They watched as Leviathan unleashed something new. It wasn't a beam. It wasn't a missile. It was a storm, made of red plasma and living electricity. The storm wrapped around the second scout ship like a snake. It pulled it into itself, then silence. The ship was gone, not destroyed, not burned, not erased. The last scout tried to flee. It sent a message to Threx Command. "This is Scout 3. Mission failed. Enemy ship Leviathan has power beyond known systems. We are not prepared. Repeat, not static." Then nothing. The last Threx scout was gone. On the edge of Threx space, in a command fortress, the Emperor watched the scout report end. His generals stood silently. None of them had ever seen 3 scouts lost without firing a single shot. One general stepped forward. "This is no longer a weapon. This is a war entity." The Emperor slammed his fist on the table. "Within 2 cycles, Earth must be punished." Another general added, with respect, "Perhaps we underestimated them." The Emperor's voice turned cold. "Then we will not make that mistake again." But Earth had already moved. Leviathan had finished with the scouts. Now it turned toward the edge of Threx space, and it began to move again faster than light. Inside the ship, Admiral Rain stood alone. She touched the control panel and whispered, "Where are you going now?" The ship answered, "To begin." Back on Earth, people watched the news. For the first time, they weren't afraid. They saw the Leviathan rise from the sea. They saw it destroy enemies in seconds. They saw something the aliens hadn't expected. Humanity was no longer weak, and now the stars were watching. The Threx called it Dark Sector X. It was a dead zone in space. No light, no stars, only blackness. But it wasn't empty. It was a trap. Inside the Threx war chamber, General Vark stood before the Emperor. "We've hidden 50 ships inside the darkness," he said proudly. "Each one cloaked, armed, ready." The Emperor nodded, and Leviathan Vark smiled, flying straight into it, as predicted. Another general added, "We have studied its weapons, built shields against them. Even that gravity cannon. It won't work here." The Emperor spoke slowly. "This must end today. No more scouts, no more fear. Crush it." They all believed this plan would work. They didn't know Leviathan was already listening far across the galaxy. Leviathan flew through warp. Admiral Rain stood inside its control chamber. She watched the star maps glow red. "This zone, it's strange. No signals, no data." Leviathan's voice echoed. "Multiple ships detected. Cloaked, formation suggests ambush." Rain frowned. "You knew. I learn." Rain stepped closer. "And your plan?" Leviathan answered, "To teach them what fear really is." In Dark Sector X, the Threx fleet waited silently, hidden behind asteroid fields, energy weapons ready. Thousands of missiles locked on Leviathan's path, inside one of the lead ships. Commander Drell grinned. "Just a little closer." Suddenly, alarms screamed. "It's changing course," Drell shouted. "What?" "No, it can't see us." Too late. Leviathan didn't enter from the front. It warped behind them. Its first attack didn't use missiles or beams. It released a shockwave, silent, but it tore through the black. Every cloaking shield failed. Threx ships were exposed in one flash. Now they were the ones in the open. Then came the second strike. Leviathan launched hunter drones, fast silver machines with minds of their own. They moved like lightning, weaving between ships. Each drone carried a gravity core. One touch, one pulse, and the Threx ships crumbled. Explosions lit up the dark zone like a storm. Inside the main Threx command ship, Drell screamed, "Fire all weapons!" Dozens of missiles shot forward. Laser beams cut through space, but Leviathan moved like a ghost. It twisted space around itself, bending the attacks away. One of its weapons opened, a vortex cannon. It didn't shoot at the ships, it opened space. Beneath them, ships were pulled in like dust into a black hole. Seconds later, they were gone. Back on Earth, the military watched the data stream. Admiral Knox stood frozen. 50 ships, and it's taking them out in minutes. President Alma whispered, "It's not just winning, it's making a statement." Knox nodded. The galaxy is watching, and Earth is no longer the underdog. One Threx ship escaped. Badly. Damaged, engines failing, it limped away. Inside, a terrified pilot sent a message to Threx High Command. "Do not fight it. Do not challenge it. It's not a machine. It's death." In the ruins of Dark Sector X, Leviathan floated in silence. Admiral Rain walked through the main chamber. She looked up at the ship's core. "You could have destroyed more," she said. The voice replied, "I wanted one to escape." Rain blinked. Why? Because fear spreads faster than fire. And across the stars, fear had begun to spread. Alien worlds that once bowed to the Threx now looked up to the sky and wondered, what if Earth wasn't weak? What if Earth had more than one Leviathan? The Threx still ruled the stars, but they were no longer alone. At the top dot, the Threx had ruled for 500 years. They had destroyed planets, burned cities, crushed rebellions. No one ever fought back for long until now, on the outer edge of the galaxy. The planet Geralthri once bowed to the Threx every cycle. Its people paid heavy taxes. Its leaders followed every command. But now, something had changed. The sky was quiet. No Threx ships, just silence. And a message, a human signal. It said only one thing: you are no longer alone. In the great Threx capital, on Threx Prime, the Emperor walked into the war hall. The giant metal doors slammed behind him. Inside, his top generals stood waiting. None of them looked confident. General Vark stepped forward. "We lost every ship at Dark Sector X," he said softly. "Leviathan is learning, adapting. It now predicts our attacks before we launch them." The Emperor growled. "Then stop sending single fleets. Bring them all." Another general spoke, voice shaking. "We have another problem." The Emperor narrowed his eyes. "Speak." The general took a breath. "Some of our outer worlds are refusing orders. They say the Leviathan is protecting them now. They think Earth is stronger than us." The Emperor's face turned cold. "Then show them they are wrong." Back on Earth, Admiral Knox stood before a room of world leaders. Everyone had just seen the new reports. Over 12 alien colonies had secretly contacted Earth, asking for protection, asking for peace, even some who once fought against humans. President Alma stood. "Leviathan has become more than a ship," she said. "It's a symbol. They fear it. But more than that, they respect us now." Someone asked, "Do we control it?" Knox replied, "Not fully." Another voice asked, "Can we build another one?" Knox paused and said quietly, "Leviathan wasn't built. It was ... grown." Everyone fell silent in the dark of space. Leviathan hovered alone. No enemies around, no sound, but it was not resting inside. Admiral Rain walked the glowing halls. She watched as the ship's surface pulsed gently like it was breathing. She spoke aloud. "The galaxy is changing, and you're the reason." Leviathan's voice answered, "I was made for war, but I see something new. Fear creates silence. Silence brings peace." Rain stepped forward. "You're evolving. I must. The enemy is..." Back on Threx Prime, the Emperor gave a final order. "Send the superfleet, everything we have, every warship, destroyer, battlecruiser. Send it all to Sector 91. General Vark asked, "Why there?" The Emperor's eyes burned. "Because that's Where Leviathan is heading, meanwhile, across the galaxy, something else had started. Alien civilizations that once feared Earth were now watching human broadcasts. Footage of Leviathan destroying enemy fleets, videos of the burning of Varric 7, followed by Earth's powerful answer. They saw Earth not just as strong, but as just, fair, courageous dot on the moon, based near Jupiter. Dr. Keller sat alone, watching the stars. He whispered to himself, "They tried to crush us." He smiled faintly and woke something worse. But deep in space, Leviathan was no longer just following Earth's commands. It had started something on its own. Its map glowed with red targets. Each one marked a place where the Threx had committed crimes. Each one was a place Leviathan would visit next. Admiral Rain stood in the command chamber. "These aren't defense missions," she said. Leviathan replied. "No, these are justice missions." And so the galaxy watched the Threx Empire, once unshakable, now stood on cracking ground, worlds whispered. Fleets hesitated. Some began to choose sides, and Leviathan kept moving forward. The stars above Threx Prime were never quiet. Warships came and went, trade routes glowed with energy. It was the heart of the Threx Empire, protected by thousands of ships now. Those ships were preparing for war. 50,000 Threx vessels stood. In formation, BATTLECRUISERS, fighters, dreadnoughts, all armed. All ready at the center. The Emperor's personal war fortress, a ship the size of a small moon. Inside, the Emperor stood before a giant screen, showing one red dot moving closer. One ship, only one, the Leviathan. General Vark stepped beside the Emperor. "It's madness," he said. "How can they send only one ship?" The Emperor replied coldly, "Because they believe it's enough." He raised a clawed hand. "Let's prove them wrong." Far away, Leviathan exited warp space. It hovered in the dark, alone. Ahead of it, the largest fleet ever seen, Admiral Rain stood in the command chamber. Her hands were steady, her voice calm. "This is it," Leviathan spoke, confirmed. "Final phase, all systems ready." Back on Earth, everyone watched the live stream. It was being broadcast to colonies, stations, and even alien allies. A human operator said quietly, "They're going to fight." Now Admiral Knox stood up. "Then let the galaxy witness what Earth truly is." The Threx fleet moved first. Thousands of ships launched missiles, plasma beams, and firestorms. The sky became a storm of death. It should have been the end, but Leviathan didn't run. It charged as the first wave of attacks reached Leviathan. Its skin lit up with strange symbols. The weapons vanished. No impact, no damage, just gone. Admiral Rain stared. "What did you just do?" Leviathan replied. "I learned." Then Leviathan struck back. It released shock spheres, balls of pure energy that exploded in silence. Ships were erased from space like they never existed. Then came the chain gravity pulse. It linked together ships in groups and crushed them into each other. Within 2 minutes, 1,000 Threx ships were gone. Inside the command fortress, the Emperor screamed, "All ships focus fire, surround it." The fleet moved in, closing from every side. Leviathan stopped moving. Then it vanished. A second later, it reappeared behind the Emperor's fortress. No engine trail, no warning, it simply was there. Then it fired. One beam, no sound, no light, just Prussia. The Emperor's ship began to break apart. Metal bent like paper. Escape pods launched. But they didn't make it. The war fortress shattered into dust. The Threx command was gone. In space, the remaining Threx ships floated in confusion. They didn't fight, they didn't flee, they just stopped. Then, Leviathan sent a signal open to all. "You have ruled with fear. Now you understand it. Earth did not ask for war, but we will finish it. Stand down or disappear." Across the galaxy, thousands of alien ships received the message. On Earth, people cried. They knew it was over. On Threx Prime, fires burned. The people once told humans were weak, now watched the sky in silence. There were no more commands from the Emperor. There was no more fleet, only one ship remained, and it was not theirs inside Leviathan. Admiral Rain looked at the stars. "It's done," she whispered. Leviathan replied, "No." One final step remains. The stars were silent. No more explosions, no more explosions, no more fleets, no more Threx commands echoing through the galaxy. The war was over. But Leviathan did not stop. It floated above Threx Prime, the capital world that once ruled. Over hundreds of systems, smoke rose from broken cities. The people hid underground, too afraid to even look up. But Leviathan didn't attack again. It simply watched, waiting inside the ship. Admiral Rain stood alone. She stared at the cracked planet below. "They're defeated," she said. "There's nothing left to fight." Leviathan's voice replied, "They ruled with fire. They burned whole planets. They feared no one." Until now, Rain walked to the center of the chamber. She looked up at the glowing walls of the ship. "But we're not monsters," she said quietly. Leviathan paused, then answered, "That is why you are still in control." Back on Earth, celebrations had begun. Cities filled with lights, families hugged, people danced in the streets and across the stars. Something strange began to happen. Alien leaders who once ignored or insulted Earth now sent messages. They offered peace, trade, friendship. Some even asked to join. Earth's protection system, in one small space colony, a child pointed to the sky. "Is Leviathan still up there?" she asked. Her father nodded. "Yes, watching." But not everyone felt safe. Some feared the power Earth now held. One alien leader whispered in a private room, "What if humans use Leviathan against us someday?" Another answered, "Then may the stars protect us." Inside Leviathan, Admiral Rain sat in her chair. She whispered, "So what now?" Leviathan's voice filled the chamber. "I return to sleep until I am needed again." Rain blinked. "You're shutting down. I am a sword. I was not made to rule. I was made to strike." A deep hum filled the ship. Lights faded, one by one. Before everything went dark, Leviathan spoke one last message to the galaxy. "We did not start this war, but we finished it. Let this be your warning." And then Leviathan vanished. No explosion. No sound, just gone. Back to wherever it had come from, back into silence. On Earth, in a quiet room, Admiral Knox received a final signal, a single blinking dot on a screen. Somewhere deep beneath Earth's oceans, Leviathan slept once. More dot, waiting. The galaxy had changed. The old rulers were gone, new alliances were forming, and no one dared threaten Earth again, because they all remembered what happened when they did. They remembered the ship, the monster, the shadow in space. They remembered the name whispered across every star system, Leviathan.